There are pages of literature that aren't written to tell a story, but to give voice to the things that were never spoken aloud. Dong Hai, I'm Coming Home is one such piece, quiet, sincere, and aching with regret. Vu Hai, a sensitive and seasoned female writer, does not construct a complicated plot. Instead, she gently unfolds the inner world of a daughter who realizes too late that she never helped her mother return to her childhood home of Dong Hai. That place, where her mother once left behind her youth to become a bride in a faraway land, still lingers vividly in memory. The scent of salt fields, dried fish, and the folk tales her mother whispered while sea winds stirred the fishing village. With tender, unembellished yet deeply evocative prose, the story becomes more than just a belated act of remorse. It is a quiet elegy for a generation of women who tucked their longing for home into silence. In this story, Dong Hai is no longer just a name on a map. It is a symbol of exile, of maternal love, of the sacred idea of home that sometimes takes a lifetime to truly understand. Dong Hai, I'm Coming Home is a whisper, soft, but echoing endlessly in the hearts of readers, especially those who have lived far from home, who still owe their mothers a single return. Dong Hai, I'm Coming Home. Dong Hai, I'm Coming Home. I've lost count of how many times, and I wouldn't know how to truly describe that strange, indescribable feeling Ha carries each time she returns to Vietnam. Every time it happens, she taps on the screen in front of her seat to follow her flight path. While most passengers kill time by watching movies, listening to music through their headphones, or falling asleep, Ha does not. Not even a short nap to ease the fatigue. She just can't. She stays awake, watching, counting each second, tracking that plane carrying her, wondering, where are we now? Minute after minute, Ha keeps her eyes on the screen. From America to Japan, departing Tokyo, soaring over the Pacific Ocean. Oh, how long until the plane enters Vietnamese airspace? On the little screen in front of her, she watches, waits, hopes, and counts every kilometer that passes. Each one brings her closer and closer to Vietnam, to the homeland of her heart. And she does this non-stop for the 20-some hours of her flight. Ha misses her mother, though she passed away many years ago. She misses her siblings, her childhood friends, some still living, others now gone. All of those memories, big and small, flood back and fill her entire mind, breaking open, spilling over and dissolving. Only now does Ha fully understand what homeland means, what memory truly is. It lives in your subconscious, it nurtures you, and no force on earth can erase it. That yearning to return, to embrace, to kiss, to love until all the months and years of longing are soothed, will never leave you. And now finally understands why her mother, when she was still alive, used to yearn so deeply, so desperately, for just one chance. If only she had the money, she said, she would buy a cheap bus ticket, or even take a local train to Dong Hai, Ha's maternal hometown. Or if only her children could spare her a little, she'd save it up until she had enough for a ticket, and she'd go immediately. But back then, in those years after 1975, life was hard beyond words. Her children, including Ha, were indifferent and cruel in their thoughtlessness. Who cared? Who even noticed the silent wishes of a woman, a mother from Dong Hai, Quang who had married into a family in Hue and later moved to Da Nang to live with her children? 35 years passed, then 40, then 50, and then old age, and still she never once returned to her hometown. She died after more than 60 years without seeing the land of her youth, the place where she had once been a daughter, a young woman, a human being full of dreams. Yes, that's right. Ha is confessing to herself. She was an ungrateful daughter, a child who never dared face her mother's homeland, her own maternal roots. Ha was the youngest daughter, pampered more than anyone else, but also spared the burdens of hardship. When she was little, her mother saved the best things just for her. Whatever Ha wanted, even if it hurt her mother's heart, she wouldn't dare refuse. Ha remembers now how peculiar her temperament was, how she had always carried a deep love for art and literature, a longing to write. After graduating from the Faculty of Literature, Ha dreamed of becoming a writer. She volunteered to go to the Central Highlands. Her ticket to Bun Matut was already in hand. Her luggage was packed, everything prepared. Her mother sat silent, eyes red, but she didn't cry. Still, Ha could see the tears swelling, unshed, sitting beside her, the old woman murmured, "Ha, please, don't go." Ha didn't know how to respond, but she knew her mother was only speaking from emotion, that she would soon resign herself to the inevitable, and her mother knew too. No matter what she said, Ha would go. The youngest daughter was leaving. Ha's brothers and sisters had all married and gone before her. Looking back now, Ha wonders how she could have been so careless, so indifferent to her mother's aching heart. In the Central Highlands, Ha threw herself into her literary ambitions. She returned to unfinished drafts she had begun about the poet Han Mak-tu, singing the praises of Dong Hei, the land of his childhood, though he had actually been born in Quy Nhơn. Ha never once remembered that Dong Hei was also her own mother's homeland, a place her mother had yearned for with every breath, every heartbeat. A place Ha had heard about so often, because as the youngest, she had always been the one her mother talked to the most. There were stories of Ha's grandmother, how hard it was for her as a daughter-in-law, stories of ghosts in Bo Chor, stories of young men shot dead by French soldiers, so many stories. Her mother had painted Dong Hei in rich, vivid colours, but Ha listened half-heartedly and then forgot, never really taking them in. As Ha grew up, especially during her high school and university years, she began to carry a deep-seated shame around two words: Dun Bo, a slang term, a label, a mocking nickname people used to refer to those born and raised in Quang Binh, the province where her mother's hometown, Dong Hei, lay. In the stories of the time, told in whispers and laughter by youth from Hanoi, from the south, from Hue and Da Nang, Dunbar was said to be difficult, backward, impossible to get along with. Ha didn't know why the label clung so stubbornly, but that shame, irrational as it was, burrowed into her. She hadn't been born or raised in Quang Binh. She knew almost nothing of her mother's hometown, save for the faded stories her mother used to tell, stories that now seemed like mist, like smoke. The more her mother missed and longed for that place, the more irritated Ha felt. Years later, when Ha's father suffered a stroke and became paralyzed, Ha left the Central Highlands and returned to Da Nang to care for both her parents. At that time, she shouldered everything: her father's immobility, her chronically ill younger brother, her own child still small, and a mother grown frail. The burden of daily life, meals, debts, survival, pressed upon her without end. She still couldn't understand why people always spoke ill of Dun Bo. Was it because they were poor? Because hardship twisted dignity into something darker? But poverty is no sin. A homeland is still a homeland. Perhaps poverty does tempt people into selfishness, into roughness. Still, through her mother's eyes, Dong Hei was always beautiful, a place of sprawling salt fields, of fresh squid, plump lobsters, crimson clam sauce, hand-pressed rice wine. And the people? So honest, her mother would say, honest like counting numbers on your fingers. Ha listened, but she didn't know, didn't feel it. Once, a neighbour returned from Quang Binh and shared stories about how much the place had changed. Her mother lit up with joy. A few days later, when Ha came home exhausted from teaching, back then she worked at 3 schools just to make ends meet, she had no appetite, could barely manage a few sips of milk or spoonfuls of porridge. Her mother, unaware of Ha's suffering, timidly came close and said in a whisper, "Dear, do you think you could give me a little money? I want to go back to Dong Hei to visit my sisters." Ha widened her eyes and snapped, "Can't you see how hard I'm struggling? You want to go on a trip while I can't even breathe from all this pressure? The bills, the rent, the repairs, everything is piling up. Where am I supposed to get money for some trip to Dong Hei? I'll call An Hung and have him buy you a ticket to Saigon instead. Why are you so obsessed with that Dun Bo place anyway?" Yes, Ha was cruel, unfilial. In that moment, she handed her mother a bitter, cutting fruit, a poisonous answer that withered something inside them both. And even though Ha never really understood what Dun Bo meant, that one sentence was enough. Her mother never asked again. From that day on, both Ha and her mother fell silent. A quiet sadness hung between them, a long, aching hush. It was as though each of them knew they had said something they could never take back. The following year, Ha had to pawn her little Charlie scooter just to pay the land tax and secure the family's red ownership book. Then her young son developed a kidney condition. His body swelled up, and he had to be hospitalized for weeks. The bills piled up, prescriptions, doctor's fees, the hospital stay. But not just for her child. Her chronically ill younger brother, too, needed constant care. Ha did it all. She took the long bus rides, teaching at a school 40 kilometers outside the city. So many things fell apart inside her, physically, emotionally, and silently. She never told her mother how broken she felt, and her mother, perhaps sensing it all, said nothing either. She knew of her daughter's suffering, yet chose to pretend she didn't. Not a word of blame, not even a distant sigh. Sometimes Ha stole glances at her mother, wishing she could say, "I'm sorry." But the words never came. The memory hurts, the regret stings, the love swells and chokes. "Oh, Mother, I'm so sorry." Ha got married and moved to the United States. Her mother, now older and frailer, was taken in by Ha's older brother in Saigon. From then on, Dong Hai, her homeland, must have become nothing more than a misty dream, a foggy yearning. Her brother and sister-in-law were no different from Ha. Her mother had grown weak, and no one would let her travel alone. No one allowed her to go back, even once. In the final years of her life, she lived quietly in her son's home. A few years later, she fell ill and passed away. When Ha flew from America to attend her mother's funeral, she cried uncontrollably on the plane. If only, she thought, if only I had known better back then. If only I hadn't been so harsh. If only I'd had the money I have now to buy her a simple ticket, to send her home to Dong Hai, just once, just to ease her longing. But by then, regret meant nothing. Her mother was gone. From the day she had followed her husband from Dong Hai to Hue, and later to Da Nang, until the day she left this world, more than 60 years had passed. 60 years away from her homeland, and not once did she get to return. How unfilial her children were. Oh, Mother. Ha's eldest sister was officially named Vo Thi Dong Hai on her birth certificate. Before and after Mung Tin Baby Pham, whenever she needed to present her ID, no one in the South ever understood why she had such a strange name. But their family knew. It was a mark, a keepsake of memory, of the very first time their father met their mother in Dong Hai. He fell in love, married her, and brought her to Hue. When Ha returned to Saigon, she didn't arrive in time. Her mother's coffin was already sealed, lying quietly in her brother's home. Ha and her siblings held each other and wept. Only her brother Dung did not cry. Her eldest sister, the one named Dong Hai, sobbed. Ha, Mother's gone. Before she passed, she begged us to bring her back to Dong Hai, but it was too far, we couldn't do it. And so Ha finally knew. Her mother, that quietly suffering woman, had left her homeland as a bride, and from that day on, never returned, not even in death, though she longed for it more than anything in the world. Her brother Dung, the second oldest, had always been known as the one who loved their mother the most. He had returned from the remote economic zone in the Central Highlands to attend the funeral in Saigon, and though he had seemed strong and dry-eyed all day when the coffin was being lowered into the grave, he cried out in anguish, "Mother, don't go, don't lie here. It's too cold, too lonely." Ha knew. Among all her children, none of them could ever truly understand why their mother yearned so deeply to go back to Dong Hai, to that land where she had once been a child, a daughter, a young woman full of dreams. A homeland. Yes, there is something about it that defies explanation. Only when you live far away do you begin to feel it, a longing that gnaws at you quietly, day after day, wordless and constant. Only Ha understood it now, because she too had become a woman, living far from her roots. Over 60 years of longing to return, only those who have been exiled by life like Ha can ever truly comprehend the weight of that sorrow, the quiet pain in their mother's heart. Mother, please rest easy now. Let me atone for my unfilial heart. Let me return to Dong Hai in your place. No, let me carry you home, wrapped in my love, even if only in spirit. The sea breeze is sweet. The salt fields stretch white beneath the sky. Fishing villages sleep beneath soft sunlight. Deeper still, further inland, lies the old village of Dong Phu, the one her mother used to tell her about, where the scent of ripening rice glows golden and pure, like the time when her mother had once been a girl. And today, for the first time in her life, Ha finally stands in the land of her mother's birth. She turns to her friend Min Hin, the one who had guided her here, also a woman who married into this land, this place of memory. And with all her heart, Ha says, Hin, please, let me be the one to shout it in my mother's stead. Dong Hai, I'm coming home. Postscript. Mother, I have finished writing this story. I offer it with all my heart to you on the day of your memorial, 21st of the 5th lunar month, June 18th, 2022.